fat loss is much more effective and also easier, and I'll unpack what I mean by that, when you think about it like seasons. And when you recognize there are seasons where it makes sense to lean into a calorie deficit, and there are seasons where that does not make sense for you because you already have a lot on your plate. So your physical system, like your actual physical body, your metabolism itself may not do what you want it to do, as in the scale may not drop. You may not lose body fat.
Let's link up with Krista on The Fix. She's a wellness coach with a focus on mental well-being and physical strength.
What's up, Fix listeners? Welcome back to our latest episode of the Fix podcast. I'm your host, Krista Huber, back with another solo. And it's been a minute since we've done a little list. I know you guys like a good list. The type A girlies out there love a good list. And I was thinking about it as I thought through, okay, when was the last time we really did a list episode of just like the heavy hitters, the 3 to 4, this one's going to be 6, because you know I don't do anything without making it thorough, hasn't been done on the show in a while. And I was really consistent with them last year, right around this time, because for the month of April, leading up to me turning 30 last May, I did a list of lessons, I broke it down over like 5 episodes. And it was basically 30 different lessons of all various things that I've taken through my 20s and plan to apply in my 30s. And it was a really fun way to organize both my Instagram content as well as the podcast episode content. In addition to that, I want to make sure that when I talk on this podcast, I'm sharing what's going on in my life. And I know that all of you come here to learn about fitness and nutrition, as well as maybe some coaching ideas. If you're a fellow coach out there, if you're a business owner, if you're into marketing, if you're trying to grow a brand on social media, there's a whole lot of things we are focusing on if you follow this show as well as my Instagram page. And something that I have been working through recently that very specifically relates back to what 99.9% of people's struggles are when it comes to fat loss goals is being busy AF. For those of you who don't know, back in January, I launched a second business to coincide with the Fitness FYX. It is called the Clarity Collective, and I work with fellow business owners to really just figure out how to actually tell your story, to be specific with that story, and to develop a clear brand that helps you grow your business online. I have had the pleasure of welcoming 7 new individuals inside of my group program for that. We literally just started that larger group program last week. A month ago, I did this really amazing content challenge with almost 30 other business owners where I sent them a prompt every single day. And I got to support them through and walk them through and really hold them accountable, much like we do with our nutrition and fat loss. So there's so many parallels to these two businesses, to actually show up on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, via email every single day and really be clear about who it is that you're speaking to then ultimately attract your customer. For those of you out there who are not business owners, but maybe you're a client of the Fitness FYX, maybe you're a client of another coach, maybe you interact with social media online, which is a hard maybe. You guys realize this as a consumer, but there is a lot that goes into the thought process behind creating just one piece of content for it to really land with you. There is nothing that brings me more satisfaction than when I get a DM from somebody saying, oh my God, this reel, or oh my God, this post, I feel so seen. This is 100% relatable to me. We get that about the podcast too. So all of these different platforms come together to really create this portfolio, so to speak, of who the Fitness FYX is for, what the Fitness FYX is about. And this podcast is really the deep dive into explaining who the Fitness FYX helps. And I couldn't think of a better list than, of course, using my own life to imprint on it, to kind of talk you through like, what the fuck do you do when you feel really overwhelmed? Honestly, like I have a tight ship that I'm running with my schedule. And some days I feel like I'm crushing it. I'm getting it all done. And other days I'm like, how am I going to do all of this today? And yeah, it's my own doing. So I don't say this from a place of like, oh my gosh, I got all these things to manage. I am so excited And I will also say, for that reason, it's sometimes difficult for me to slow down because I'm like, yes, let's go do this. Yes, let's go do that. My brain, my wheels just start turning. And when it comes to creating content, when it comes to that creative aspect of social media, if you get me going on a specific topic, if you're listening out there and I'm one of you're in my ecosystem as somebody that I've talked to either via DMs or you're one of my clients inside of the Clarity Collective, like I can truly talk about this for hours and hours. The same way that for our nutrition clients out there, if you send me a message asking me, when's the time for me to get into a calorie deficit? Why am I not seeing the progress that I expected to see by now? We love to talk about it. Part of the reason why I created this podcast was so we could dive a little bit deeper into the challenges and most importantly, the solutions, the expectations, the mindset shifts that will help you live your best and healthiest life. A motto that I came up with for the Fitness FYX last year was this idea that you already do it all. Because all my ladies out there who come into our program and tell me, I really desire to lose body fat, but I want to do it the right way. I'm tired of yo-yo dieting. The one thing we can all agree on is that you have a packed calendar. And I'm not going to ask you to not do it all. I know you get so much satisfaction. You have so much pride. You have a lot of confidence that actually comes from how much you can juggle. So where's the solution that Coach Alyssa and I provide inside of the Fitness FYX? We're going to show you how to do it better. And sometimes doing it better can look like slowing down to speeding up. So that's exactly what the rest of this list is, because I'd like to share how I think about my own fitness, my own nutrition routine, protocols, etc., in a season of my life when I'm juggling a whole lot of things. I got 6 things, we'll say 7. I got the little list on my phone. One of them's kind of like a bonus because it's related to all 6. But I think it's important to share these because I really want you guys to recognize that like the whole point of really thinking about this from a place of like, hey, I want to make my relationship to food something that I don't have to worry about anymore. I want my relationship to the scale to improve. Is we have to recognize that your approach has to be fluid, meaning, and I've talked about this on the show before, sometimes you're going to track your macros to a T. Other times you may deviate from the plan. But when we know why we've made the decisions that we're making, it's much easier for us, especially as coaches, to then come together with you and say, all right, your experience XYZ sources of stress, changes at work, different things on your plate, something going on with your child, even down to, hey, this is the week of my period and I might change my macros. We do that for our clients because the number one goal is to be consistent. But in addition to that, the whole process of fat loss itself, this is something that's so key to understand. If this is the only takeaway you have from this like 15-minute rant, this is what I want you to walk away with. Fat loss is much more effective and also easier, and I'll unpack what I mean by that, when you think about it like seasons. And when you recognize there are seasons where it makes sense to lean into a calorie deficit, and there are seasons where that does not make sense for you because you already have a lot on your plate. So your physical system, like your actual physical body, your metabolism itself may not do what you want it to do, as in the scale may not drop. You may not lose body fat because you got all this other stuff going on here. That the best decision you can make for yourself is to nourish your body, to really fuel it, to maybe keep yourself in a phase of more maintenance calories. But guess what? When you focus on things like reducing inflammation through food choice, proper nutrients, maybe some supplements, getting better sleep, reducing your workouts, I'm hinting at the things that are on the list, you might actually find that you lose weight. And then you're like, holy shit, this is so magical. It's not magical. It's coming from the fact that the human body desires homeostasis. Your body doesn't want to run around in this stressed, heightened state, this fight or flight mode. It wasn't designed for that. And the more you continue to do that, then eventually you'll be able to claim not even claim, but have the reality of having hormone issues. So sometimes it's this concept of slowing down in the sense that like, we're not chasing a specific fat loss goal. And number 6 on my list is unpacking what I mean by why we don't want to always be in a calorie deficit. But I need you to hear this. If you're on a pursuit of losing body fat, And let's say you're currently in a calorie deficit because it's April. A lot of people are gearing up for Memorial Day. You want to squeeze out those last couple of pounds because you want to not have to worry about dieting through the summer. You got to be really real with yourself. And you got to ask yourself, like, if every single week you're not actually hitting the target for your calorie deficit, you're having 4 meals out when you really intended to only have 2, you're having the glass of wine because it was a long day and you're like, yeah, I kind of want this. You're maybe in a busy season where you're not necessarily getting a good night's sleep every single night. Change the plan. Like, literally, please, like, and come talk to me if you are not one of our clients, and I will walk you through. Send me a DM at the Krista Huber. I will walk you through. I'll give you the 4 tips that I would give you of how to change the plan. And the reason why I strongly urge you to do that is because, like I said, sometimes piling more stress, more load on the system when you already have a lot going on, when your mental capacity is at a pretty like high, it's stretched. You're not going to get the results that you expect based on the work you're trying to put in. And we know trying is not the same thing as doing. And when you're in a calorie deficit, I want you to be so damn locked in, as I like to say to our clients, I want you to be dialed in so that you get all the juice squeezed out of that lemon. Because if you don't get all the juice squeezed out of that lemon, it's a combination of honestly your fault because you didn't perform at the level of precision that was required for being in the deficit because we needed to be that much more consistent. But at the same time, it's also like, it's partially your fault because somebody could be sitting in front of you or you could be hearing me play in your ears telling you that if you've got these other things going on, sometimes it doesn't make sense to chase the typical protocol that you would expect, like reducing calories, to lose body fat. And the human body, in chasing homeostasis and wanting to be in that state, it's a beautiful thing that when you recover, results are truly in the recovery. Your body will surprise you in that you might start to not only feel better, have more energy, sleep better through the night, be able to focus better, that cognitive function that comes along with all of this. If you're running a business, in my case, running multiple businesses, I want to be sharp. I want my brain to be like ready to go. Like I said, overflowing with ideas. There are multiple people that are asking me questions throughout the day. So I want to fuel my body in a way that's going to help me perform at my best. And sometimes performing at your best isn't always in alignment with seeing that scale go down. So that said, here are the 6 things that I'm focusing on to just really handle myself when I'm busy. I literally made this note. I know you guys can't see it on the camera. If you're listening via audio, camera's a little too far away. The headline of it literally says, when you're busy AF, here are the 6 things that you want to think about when it comes to your fat loss, when it comes to your nutrition, when it comes to your fitness. Also, because this is an important caveat, we don't want to put ourselves in a position where we're so overloaded with stress that then we start gaining weight. This is your plan to tweak the dial, like I talked about in last week's episode, to turn that lever or pull that lever a little less, pull it a little more in certain areas, because we don't want to be taking steps backward. We just want to remember that our number one priority, no matter what phase we're in inside of our fat loss journey, is to prioritize ourselves. So here goes. First up. Yes, I know everyone's like, you need to get 4 days of strength training a week. Little secret, I only do 2. I do 2 classes a week, sometimes I throw an upper body strength day in there. Sometimes I throw boxing, but it's kind of sporadic. But my main 2 classes, they're split up push and pull. So they're both full body workouts. I get a chance to hang out with my friends. The programming is progressive overload, which is important. And I do that because the rest of my week, I'm prioritizing walks. And that is simply because I'm honestly not getting enough sleep every single night. I'm really prioritizing my sleep, which is one of the other things on the list. So I'll jump right into number 2. I am actually choosing to sleep in on certain days where, yes, I have the flexibility to do that with my schedule, but I also have a responsibility of like, hey, I got to get work done and people need me, but I'm going to be honest with myself about what time it makes sense to schedule a meeting, saying no to certain things. So in number 2 and saying like, hey, I'm sleeping later, I'm also really saying I'm just having boundaries with like what I might say yes or no to in my social life. So real quick, to go back to number 1, give you a little more science behind that. Most people, again, are like, you need to strength train 4 to 5 days a week. That's assuming that you are taking care of all the other variables. That's assuming you're fueling your body correctly. It's assuming you're managing your stress. So if you know that some of these other things are taking a bit of a hit, my best recommendation is to encourage you to pull back on your workouts, but prioritize walking. And remember, I also live in New York City. So in order for me to get around, it's all walking. I get without even blinking, like 17 to 20,000 steps a day, even with spending a ton of time on my computer. And something I'll do to make my day a little bit more seamless to reduce friction is if I wake up early enough, sometimes I'll actually walk all the way to the gym, or I'll walk home from the gym. And that's like a 40-minute walk for me. That's over another mile of steps that I'm getting. And then it's like, I'm taking care of the ability to reduce my stress. I'm outside. I'm listening to a podcast. Like I'm doing all these different things that just kind of allow me to bring stuff down and to chill. Moving past number 2, because I think it's pretty obvious why I'm prioritizing sleep. Again, results happen in the recovery. And you guys have an understanding of what's kind of going on there. And also, if we wanted to do a whole podcast on sleep, I'd need like 2 other experts to do it. Number 3, I am following a meal plan and I am A-okay. Please hear me when I say this, with eating pretty much the same foods all the time. Goal, reduce decision fatigue. Goal, not have to worry about MyFitnessPal. I can track much faster than the average person. I can track a lot faster than our clients that are listening out there. But because I've been tracking for so long, I also know that I can like look at certain foods in specific combinations and know like, okay, this is protein, this is fat, this is carbs. I can weigh it, I can eyeball it, and I can say to myself, yes, okay, these things fitting together really help me. I have a nutritionist that I work with who keeps me accountable. And she agreed, like, you got a lot on your plate, like metaphorically. So let's go ahead and reduce your decision fatigue here and just have something really specific that you can follow so that you don't have to think about it. I'm totally down to do that for me personally. And if I had a client who came to me and already has a lot of knowledge with nutrition, the only time I'm super against meal plans is when somebody really has no comprehension of macros. And then all of a sudden you go out to dinner and you don't really have the education to be able to order your food. So know that this comes with like the reps of having already tracked my food before. Number 4, stress management. So what the heck does it actually look like? What does that actually mean when people say those things? I am cold plunging once a week. I could probably do it more, but that shit's cold. I have the luxury of having a cold plunge in my apartment building, which also makes it frictionless for me to be able to just pop down there and go. I'm not booking a session to go somewhere, walking somewhere else to do it. So I got no time to talk myself out of it. Lymphatic massage. You can do this to yourself. There's different techniques. If you literally go on YouTube and just type in like the big 7 lymphatic, it'll show you exactly how to do it. That just kind of gets things moving. It helps with inflammation. And I honestly do feel a big difference, even spending like 5 minutes in the morning or before I go to bed doing it. It's also just like kind of relaxing to just massage the specific areas around the lymph system. So it's mostly like by like the clavicle and like your collarbone, in the neck. I think everybody knows that there's lymphs there. And then other areas like around your stomach area, over your belly button, in like the inner groin area, also the back of your knees, which I actually didn't know. But you just do that, go through that little protocol for like 5 minutes. You're spending a minute on each side ish. And I feel really, I can feel things kind of moving through my system and feel things just flowing, like I'm actually starting to flush things out. And also, you know, looking at like things like more walks, like I said, sprinkling in some yoga, even if it's just like popping on a YouTube video, 10 minutes in my apartment on the floor. I'm not making it this whole big thing. If somebody invites me to a yoga class, a client of mine did last week, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm there, because those are the types of activities that I also know are not my usual. And I want to encourage myself to really do, because 1, hey, why not step outside of your comfort zone a little bit? But 2, they're good for me, especially in this season with the particular goals that I have. I still have a goal of fat loss. I want to make that abundantly clear. And all the things I'm describing do actually aid in this pursuit of fat loss. But the one that people get confused on is they're like, well, are you actually chasing fat loss if you're not formally in a calorie deficit? Yes, because I'm looking at all the other levers that we can pull: the sleep, the stress management, the steps, hydration, etc. Like, we track every single one of those things inside of the Fitness FYX, not because I feel like taking a person who's already very busy and giving her or him more data to look at, more things to write down, like I'm giving you homework, because this shit matters. It makes a difference. I could have a client, Alyssa and I talk about this all the time. You could have somebody in your program, if you're a coach out there, pay attention to this stuff, because sometimes your client isn't giving you all the information, and then you got to ask yourself, am I collecting it? And for those of you who are clients of coaches, think about this. You could hit your macros perfectly, but if you got 5 hours of sleep, like 3 or 4 nights in a row, the scale may go up, and then you might be frustrated. But if you're not acknowledging how many hours of sleep you got, we're kind of missing a piece of the equation here. So it makes a difference, which is why we're even talking about it in the first place. Outside of stress management, reducing alcohol intake, I think this one, kind of like sleep, should also go without saying. I really am picky about when I'm going to have drinks. I'm not doing like the once a week thing where I have a casual 2 drinks at dinner with friends. It's easy to do that where I live when I go out. But instead, I'm looking at it like saying like, hey, last week when I was away in Florida, I had a few drinks because it was for a special occasion, but I really hadn't had too many other drinks over the course of the last month. So I'm choosing to go out with friends, have dinner, stick to even specific choices with my meal plan there. I can still make my meal plan work if I go out to eat. I'm prioritizing fish. I'm prioritizing chicken, getting vegetables on the side. It's honestly something where you recognize, hey, I'm not intending to be perfect here, but I can make the best choice possible. And also remember that hanging out with my friends is also a way to manage stress, to get away from the computer, to stop talking about work for just a little bit, and to just live your best life. We show you how to do it better because we know you're doing it all. That includes your social life. So that is a part of your health. And that is not something I'm going to take away from myself. I just might adjust the way I operate inside of that setting. Number 6, and I do have a bonus that I'll drop in here at the end. I've already alluded to this 3 times. Not expecting some crazy calorie deficit. Again, I want to reduce stress on the body. I have other factors that are kind of like a punching bag towards the metabolism of increasing that stress. So we don't necessarily need to drop food. We can accomplish seeing body composition changes by focusing on reducing inflammation in the body. And everything I just described, numbers 1 through 5, also work towards that goal. At the end of the day, it also just makes me feel better too. Because if you're out there and if you've truly been in a calorie deficit, everyone puts calorie deficits up on a pedestal and they're honestly not that fun. There are moments where you're making calculated compromises, where you're saying, okay, I'm not going to eat this food today. Where you're saying, hey, like I need to be really strategic and stretch my carbs by eating pretty much all vegetables and that piece of toast I wanted to have for breakfast. Normally I'd have 2 when I'm maintaining. On most days when I'm in my deficit, I want to drop it to 1. But some days based on other decisions I'm making, I'm not having any. That's not really something I like to live in for an extended period of time. That's a get in and get out sort of situation. So if I can reduce the scale, like the number on the scale, or I can change the shape of my physique, I can tighten things up without dropping my calories. Newsflash, people, you should all be wanting that. Like that is the best case scenario ever. Like who doesn't love the idea of getting to eat more food? And when I say more, I mean more than you would have in the past based on your past approaches when you didn't have this knowledge and you didn't have this education. Who you would have assumed like, yeah, I'm supposed to reduce my calories. Who wouldn't want to be in a position where you're consuming more than you expected to based on your past efforts and get to an even better results than you expected and actually enjoy it along the way? All that said, the reason why I mentioned a few minutes before going through the list that all of these efforts make fat loss easier, it's simply because I'm stacking the deck in my favor to help my system when it does come time to go into that deficit phase, when it does come time for me to say, hey, I got a little bit less of the responsibilities on my plate. I'm better managing my schedule. I'm getting a little bit more sleep. Then when I crank that dial up a little bit more, the weight will come off faster. And to me, if it's coming off faster, it's going to feel a lot easier. If it's coming off faster, I don't have to stay in that deficit for that long. So again, sign me up. And that's the mentality, that is the thought process we are aiming to provide inside of the Fitness FYX, because then on the other side of that, or really the phase that I'm in right now, what I'm currently doing are the tools that are things you can dial up, you can dial back down, that will help me through the rest of my life with that maintenance phase, with teaching me not only, hey, this is how you lose weight, but more importantly, this is how you maintain the results that you desire. And last but not least, I said there was a bonus, and this one does tie into all 6, but it's overlooked. And for my ladies out there who are strong, independent women, who are maybe also people pleasers, who are afraid to ask for help, don't be afraid to ask for help. I'm not able to operate at the level that I do unless I ask for help. For example, ask my brother and his fiance, take care of my dog. Can you take her for a walk? Can you grab her when I have a meeting, knowing that she's taken care of? I've asked my mom to help me out with some things with meal prep. I try to take that frictionless thought process and say to myself, well, where can I reduce friction? If I didn't happen to live like 2 seconds, I literally live a block from a grocery store, I might also get my groceries delivered to me. I asked my clients inside of the Clarity Collective just last night, by the time this comes out, it'll be a week ago, to audit their time throughout the entire day I've asked nutrition clients to do the same. I've done an entire masterclass. If anybody wants a copy of it, it's called Chaos to Consistency. Shoot me a message and I will send that right over to you. And I'll also link it down in the show notes, where I actually talk about the fact that fat loss, having success in your business, really just comes down to one thing. It's time management, but I'll say time management / asking for help, being able to really delegate, knowing that there are easier, faster, quicker, more efficient ways to do things. And sometimes it's your thought process, like that story in your head that's like, I need to do it myself. I don't want to ask for help. I want to be independent. Sometimes we got to shatter that. And sometimes we need to rewire that. And that is an important detail in a coaching relationship between myself and Alyssa and our nutrition clients, because if you're uncomfortable asking for help in your everyday life, it also sometimes makes you uncomfortable to even raise your hand to join a nutrition coaching program. And we don't want that to be the story for you. We want you to feel supported. We want you to feel like, hey, if I ask for support with this, if I delegate a task to somebody else, and maybe sometimes delegating is even like sourcing your brain power instead of you trying to figure it out, instead of you trying to Google it, instead of you trying to research it, you come right to the source, somebody like me, and you ask the question. That will make a massive difference in your life. Asking for help is also the reason why I have a nutritionist that I work with, keeps me accountable, but I'm also learning, and I'm learning different things about the human body that I didn't know before that I can, yes, then also pass on to our clients. But most importantly, right now for the season, it's just to be able to help me operate at my best. Because at the end of the day, I believe in a concept called lighthouse leadership. If you are the leader of a team, of your community, of your household, of your friend group, everybody's a leader in some capacity. And if you cannot take care of yourself in leading by example, you are doing a disservice to all of the people around you. And why is that like a lighthouse? Because if you were out on the water at night and you couldn't see, what's the purpose of a lighthouse? To guide you in the direction of the shore, to give you light when there is darkness. Being like that beacon to say to somebody, hey, this is how you accomplish all of this. This is how you handle all of this. It starts with you yourself embodying that and your integrity. Told you guys I would keep this one quick, one a little longer, as I tend to do, but that's the list. Those are my top 6 plus bonus. So really 7 non-negotiables of how I handle a season when I'm busy AF. And you heard me say, one of them is hiring a coach and having that support and having that accountability in place. So if you're out there and you're like, yeah, I got a lot going on, and my number one reason for saying I'm not getting to the gym or I'm not meal prepping, if the words, I do not have time, have entered your brain at any point in the last 24, 48 hours, 72 hours, the last 2 months, last 3 weeks, let us help. That is exactly what we're here for, to help you find the time, to make the time, because you're important. Your relationship with you is what we're actually getting at in thinking about our fat loss journeys and thinking about our health journeys. And we want you to feel like your absolute best self. So with that, from wherever you're listening from, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will catch you guys next week.